Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of the Kombat Tweaks. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be talking about Nightwolf, because talking about Nightwolf makes me happy. And for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter or Facebook and don't know, I was fired last night. I went to work, was pulled aside, given $30 for cab fare, which, by the way, is half of the cab fare that I needed to get home, and was basically told to hit the road and good luck. Not the happiest mood for me, but you know what's going to cheer me up is talking about Nightwolf. So, Nightwolf, as far as tweaks are concerned, actually has a couple of things that I would like to see changed in terms of abilities, but we're going to start right away with slot alterations. Rising Tomahawk does not need to be 2 slots. As a launcher, it's alright with meter. But if it was a meterless launcher, we could maybe talk about it. But the biggest problem that I have is that it already conflicts with Lunar Orbit and Moonfall, 2 moves that use the same input. However, these attacks also have 1 slot. And generally speaking, if you have attacks like this, you usually have one or the other, even if it is technically possible in this case to have both. And I think what should happen with Rising Tomahawk is it should become only a single slot in order to get Rising Tomahawk, and keep its conflicts with Lunar Orbit and Moonfall so you don't just because of input, because the input is fine. Ancestral Light, I feel like shouldn't also be 2 slots either, unless it gets a buff of a particular kind. I think what it should be is that Ancestral Light should be unblockable. Yeah, you heard me right. I said unblockable. However, the trade-off is this attack will not be able to track the opponent. Alternately, I would like to see Ancestral Light be plus on block. If it's going to track and not be blockable. Because otherwise, what's the point of it being 2 slots? If it's going to be 2 slots, make it busted! If Dragon Stance can be a single slot, and we're going to talk about that chick at some point, then, you know, make it busted! Let me see. I don't think there's anything else in terms of slots, but there is one thing I do think needs to happen, and that is a combination of the Beast Spirits combined with an input alteration. Now, what I mean by this is that Kiba, Como, and Hana are all separate abilities, and Hana's Wrath as well. But Hana's Wrath, I think, should get an input shift from down back 4 to down forward 4, just to differentiate it from Spirit of Hana so it doesn't conflict anymore. Then we have Spirit of Kiba, Como, and Hana potentially becoming a single ability, or getting a single ability equivalent called Beast Master or something, where he can have all of the spirits, but the ability costs 2 slots because it's a consolidation thing. It's just like Shang Tsung's all ninja moves, where you can have 4 attacks at the cost of losing 2 of your moves and 3 of your slots. Or Scorpion with his Death Spear combos, technically being 2 slots because you need Death Spin first. But if you consolidate and squash all the spirit moves into 1 spot, then you can have a 2-slot ability that covers them all, and then Hana's Wrath becomes available. I mostly want this strictly because Spirit Walker, as a variation that I have, is very, very cool because it has all of the buffs. But I don't like that you have to equip all of them as individual abilities. If I had an ability that allowed me to use them all at the cost of it being 2 slots, I would be very, very happy with that. You know, a consolidation thing. Make it cost 2 slots instead of 3, and in return you get all of them in 1 spot. And of course it would naturally conflict with all of the beast buffs. And even if it does end up conflicting with Hana's Wrath, that would be fine, because it gives Spirit Walker a gap to use Spirit Walker, for instance, a gap to use for something else. That being said, let's move on to move properties. because there's quite a few that I want to see changed as well. And of course, you're going to be seeing who is coming next. So we're going to go to Nightwolf, and we're actually going to start from Wendigo, because this has the most amount of moves that I want to see altered in terms of property. And I think the next character we're going to touch is Scarlet. I'm going to beat up Player 2 Cold War, because I think that one is brown, which is not a good color in general. So away we go. I did just put this in a normal fight. Whoops. Sorry. This is what happens when I am unfocused and frazzled. It's under the learn menu. That's where I want to go. This is where I want to go. Nightwolf and Scarlet.
Chronica's Keep.
All right. So first off, I have to question Moonfall. Now, I only say question Moonfall for one particular reason that I don't understand. Generally speaking, the concept of Moonfall, which is this attack here, which has plenty to talk about, is a very cool one, because you set the axe down, and then you call it back. In order to hit the opponent, you can set up combos with it, sort of block pressure shenanigans. In fact, if we set up the frame data, I set the frame data, Q, easy crushing blows, and we'll have block auto. See, I'm -5 and completely safe. And if the opponent were to flawless block, I see where that could be a problem. There we go. Now I'm -3, and there was no flawless block gap in there at all. They couldn't even try and poke me out of it, because if they do, they eat 60 damage on top of the block damage that they would naturally take. Now, here's the problem with that particular ability. Right now, you have the quick recall option, which is fine. But why is it down forward again? Why is also recalling the axe up 2? Why? Why? Why is this even an input? That doesn't make any sense. You never want an input that overlaps with jump. If anything, recalling the axe should be down 2, because you lose down 2. Oh, no, you don't. Oh, that's cool. I thought you lost down 2. Okay, you don't... Okay, so let's change it to down back 2. You know. So that I can call this attack back reliably and not... And, you know, actually use it for ranged pressure as well. You know, range pressure... And then they would potentially block that and then be in trouble. Next, I want to talk about... Oh, see, that's really, really cool. I wonder... Yeah, Rising Blades. That uppercut becomes 9 frames? And that's it? Neat. Anyway, back on track. Next up, I want to see Tomahawk Swing changed in one key aspect. Right now, throws do 130, and Tomahawk Swing does 120. This is a command grab. Why on earth, even considering that it does more damage on meter, why do the command grabs in this game not do more damage than normal throws? Some people might say, well, that's because you can't tech a command grab. That's true of every command grab in a 2D fighting game I can think of. Geef and Hugo from Street Fighter, Goro from Mortal Kombat X. Hell, I think outside of Tekken, you can't really tech any command grabs. Tekken is really the only game I can think of where that's really even a thing. And as a result, NetherRealm saw this as a need to balance it, but that was never the case. Goro did more damage with his command grabs than his forward throw. Same with any other character that really had a command grab, unless it had other properties like Poison Ivy, meter burning it to stun for a combo, for instance, or Killer Frost doing the same thing. So, I think Tomahawk Swing should get a 20-point damage buff. It should, instead of doing 120, it should do 140. Which does mean, yes, on Amplify, it does do 170, and leave the opponent, and leave Nightwolf at almost plus 70. However, I think that's a completely reasonable thing to land, considering that this is a very stumpy command grab. Like, I can throw Scarlet almost before I can land a command grab on her. And remember, this command grab is a high. If Scarlet ducks, I can't use the command grab on her. This is alright, because Nightwolf, being a jack of all trades character, needs to have some of his tools have some sort of flaw. And it having a range issue, considering that this thing is an armor break as well, I personally don't mind all that much. I just want Tomahawk Swing to get a damage buff, to put it in line with the throws of old, with that extra Amplify, that allows it to do 170. Now, again, that seems like a lot, but remember, throws used to do 140 in general. And now that they do 130, this command grab is only doing 10 points more. And in exchange, you can't tech, and Nightwolf is plus 12. You know what I mean? So, pros and cons with that. Next up, I want to take a look at Matoka Guardian specifically, for one key thing that I really want to add to this game, because right now Nightwolf is not exactly short in the crushing blow department. He has down 2 and hit both of his forward throws as usual. He has one string that has a crushing blow normally, but with a certain ability he gets 2, and he gets a crushing blow special move. So it's not like he's exactly starving for crushing blows, right? But I think Razor's Edge should get one. One where it does something akin to amplified Tomahawk stand, where maybe it does more damage. I actually forgot the input there for a second. Bam, 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 and then the whole string does like 28% damage, and Nightwolf is plus 75 or something ridiculous like that in exchange for landing this thing. And I think to really hammer the point home, you should land the mid on its own, or like the third hit on its own. Not as a counter, not as a punish, you gotta land that thing on its own. So, it's a bit of a tricky one, but when you already have a really good crushing blow crushing blow, that allows her, 40% one bar. Having one that has a slightly trickier requirement, but allows decent damage and being super duper plus, I think would be really cool. And plus it would fit the already existing brutality of this particular attack. The final wonder is if Nightwolf should have a new attack. And the MK Nightwolf fan in me says yes. MK Nightwolf should have his choke back in particular, because I am of the mindset that choke was one of Nightwolf's coolest enders, and it would be nice to see that come back. But since he already has a command grab, it would be hard to rationalize why one would want choke in the first place, unless it has a benefit that the Tomahawk Swing doesn't. But that basically does it for Nightwolf. Coming up next at some point in the future, we're going to take a look at the Blood Mage, Scarlet. Don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you guys on the other side.